I read somewhere that someone once said, human speech is like a cracked kettle on which we tap crude rhythms for bears to dance to while we long to make music that will melt the stars. It sounds cool, but some old French guy who died like 200 years ago said it, so it could be bullshit. I wanted to say that because human language is kind of all I have right now. I'm using some old footage my dad gave me to portray this landscape. He said it was from a simpler time, that his dad before him took those tapes and it was my dad's responsibility to do something with them. Well, now that I've gone and seen these places, I can finally do just that. This is my attempt at tapping on that cracked kettle to try and tell the story of what our great nation is now. My goal is to use these old reels and some interview footage I took to tell the story of what happened after the bombs dropped and what things are like nowadays. If you're seeing this, I got this out into the world and can show you a little bit about what this place is like. If you're not, I guess I didn't. I went into these places with a series of questions to ask anybody I came across. I hope no one's threatened by some guy riding on an old bike carrying a tape recorder. The questions I asked are as follows. What kind of community is this? How'd you come together? What's your favorite part of living here? Least favorite part? What's your most important rule for this community? What are your goals for the future? And do you know any other settlement in the nearby area I could talk to? I started out on the old bike that somehow still worked despite the years of wear and tear. The baby blue paint was all but scraped off, replaced by a scratchy metallic color and the branching scars of rust. My first stop was my old home state, New Jersey. The roads were spider-webbed with rubble and cracks, so I couldn't ride on them as much as I wanted to. The first place that caught my attention as I rode between the overgrown grass was Meadowlands Stadium, where the old Giants and Jets used to play. I thought it might still be intact, and my senses were more right than I thought. The open-air roof my dad always complained about was now replaced by a dome to match the sheet metal welded outside the stadium, leaving room for one small entrance. The parking lot was smattered with cars and bodies old enough to just be bones. I got close enough to shout out why I was there, but far away enough that I could run if they didn't want me there. Luckily enough, one of the older, sentimental types took a liking to the idea and let me in. He had a younger man come join him, about 15 or 16 years old.
We used to be called preppers back in the day. We were ready for something catastrophic, and well, we survived, didn't we? Got each other's backs and everything, enough food and water to last us a while without having to go out there.
Well, we had a community online that was ready for this sort of thing before the blackout. We met up in the middle of nowhere, pulled our supplies together, and hunkered down in Utah until the bombs stopped dropping. Then we decided to try our luck on the plan that we had. And it just so happens the stadium I chose was still standing. We made some adjustments, and so that's where we are. Safety. The outside isn't just dangerous now, it was for a while, even before all this. All of us are safe and sound in here.
Now, don't go around asking people that question. Some folks don't take negative talk about our little old place here that, well, to be honest with you, I don't much care for the isolation sometimes. Even though we don't like strangers in our here safe haven, it's nice to meet someone new once in a while. Usually people mean us harm, but when they don't, it's nice to get to know them. I love this place, trust me, but sometimes I feel a little lonely. Protect our loved ones against all.
The loved ones he mentions are mostly other older men or younger children. I wanted to ask why, but all they'd tell me is that they
lost to trying to make the world a better place.
I was told off the record by one younger teenager that many of the women in this encampment died during childbirth, which makes sense. All of this preparation, and I didn't see one hospital area, let alone a maternity ward. When I started this project a couple years ago, I thought it would be so much easier to remain unbiased as a narrator. I expected to just be able to understand what people are going through and what's going on with them with no problems whatsoever, but it's a lot harder than I expected it to be. I'm trying to give you a little glimpse of what this place is like, and when I say little, I mean little. There's so much more going on around here than I could even imagine to cover in just this short amount of time, so If you're out there and you want to continue my work, please go ahead and do so with whatever area you're in. Now, back to the program.
Keep ourselves safe, raise the kids right. This new generation will be one that fixes our mess, and by God, I hope they can. If we raise them right, we have got a chance.
Well, see, we don't get out much, so I'm not particularly sure. I'd imagine there's still some people in the city, even if it is one of the first to fall. Your best bet is to go north, even though it's cold up there. There's plenty of people who don't want to leave where they're from.
I took their advice and headed north to find a camp of people in their late 20s to mid-30s living around the Upper West Side of the city. The air emanated with heated discussion as I found a couple local residents sitting by, not arguing or talking with anyone. I decided these would be my interview subjects for the day.
We're a socialist society trying to build a better form of governance and create a more just world for everyone, especially the disenfranchised and marginalized.
A bunch of college students came here once things were safer, decided to live near a bunch of bodegas and grocery stores for food, till we figured out how to make our own.
All of us are college and university students, or were college and university students. A lot of us knew the area, or were from around here. So, after things died down, we came to the city. It was a complete mess when we got here, but we built a nice little area for ourselves with what we have.
We didn't have to fight for basics like food, water, and shelter. In times like these, I expected people to be selfish with what they had. For some reason, it's different this time, probably because everything isn't turned into a weapon for the culture war. It's also good to be around people even if we don't agree on everything.
I like how everyone seems to have a different opinion and perspective on the world, so we can plan our societies equally as we can. A lot of dissenting opinions are, well, combative, so we have to come up with compromises. The fact we don't fully achieve our goals when we set out to do something, there are always barriers and roadblocks we have to try to get over.
All the constant arguing back and forth. If we spent less time on little details and more time, doing shit, we could make our idea work better. It wouldn't be ideal for absolutely everyone, but we can at least work on the basics we can agree on.
Trying to understand other people's perspectives to try to work towards a common goal. We don't have much violence here because we talk through things, and that's kept us pretty conflict-free, physically at least.
Make sure everyone gets their share. We're a community built on equality, so that's gotta be it to me. Everybody deserves the same treatment, and, we're trying to work on that.
My goals for the future, ultimately, are to build the just, moral society we all want. It's a hefty ask. I knew that before I got myself into this, but you can't accomplish it unless you reach for the unreachable. Even if just that, moral society doesn't come around, which it probably won't, at least in my lifetime, we've made it a little easier for everyone around us.
Figure it out, get things done, make sure we're good. We just gotta start working better together and do what we say we're gonna.
I mean, you could try to talk to folks over at Coney Island, but I doubt the conversation will get that far.
How do you mean?
You'll see.
You could smell Coney Island from a mile or two away, depending on where the wind's blowing. The dank smell of a college dorm room amplified by 1,000. I biked my way up there, jumping across cracked bridges to get to the smoke-filled encampment. The first thing you notice about Coney Island, besides the smell, are the obelisks. Hundreds, if not thousands of them, maybe 10 feet tall and 4 feet wide, lining up just inside the waterline like a gapped fence on the coast. Just inside of the town, there is a small hut that looks like it's supported entirely by the stacks of books inside. They call it a library, where anyone can pick out whatever they'd like as long as they return it. They have everything in there, from a slightly bent copy of the King James Version to a waterlogged Bronte Sisters collection, stacked haphazardly on top of one another. That's where I met my two interviewees.
We're just, people. We like art and history, some more than others, for sure. We're not the all hippy-dippy peace and love type, though. Just a bunch of strangers who found a place to be cool to each other.
Well, I heard about it a few weeks before the eco guys took the internet down. I was from Ripley, some tiny town in West Virginia. and I heard about some old guy offering to house people in his growing backyard if it went south. And me and some of my friends decided to take the trek. There are a bunch of us here, and we'll make do what we have.
That's right there.
He gestures towards a massive glass sculpture on the boardwalk. A humongous crown-shaped appendage with octopus-like tentacles protruding from it every which way.
Put our herbs in the center, light a match, and toke away. Nothing better than that, you know? Especially with all of us together.
Sometimes the theater productions can get a little intense for my liking. Some of the playwrights ain't as good as they think, but they put the effort in. Least we can do is watch. Help one another, make whatever you want, and practice safe sex. We decided we don't wanna have kids deal with this.
He waved his arms at the vast swaths of rubble still caking the roads.
Even if we build something like a society, we don't want children to have to experience how cruel nature can be at such a young age. Really messes them up.
See those?
At that moment, he pointed towards the obelisks I'd been eyeing ever since I got there.
That's our goal, to give back what we took from the earth. That's where we go when we pass on. Once we're dead, the rest of the town buries us in these statues we made ourselves. When there's only a few of us left here, they'll release our bodies into the ocean to give back to the land. We also got something for people to remember us by, if they find it here. Don't get us wrong. We're no suicide cult or anything like that. We kind of want to be able to, well, go out on our own terms, if that makes sense. That's why we don't want kids. When we're gone, we don't want to leave behind any baggage or trauma for them, because they don't understand it like we do. But we want to leave a little mark here, just so people know we existed. That way, we won't really die, if you think about it. We'll be remembered, wondered about, and not really forgotten.
Farmers are up in the north. Nice people, really. Helped us through a tough winter. They're like a day or two's ride away. Thank you for coming. Safe travels.
At first, I'm gonna be completely honest, I thought the guy talking about never dying was a bit of a crazy person when I interviewed him. But I thought about it more while I was walking out of the town, and in a way, that's almost exactly what I'm doing here with this. I'm collecting some bits and pieces of this weird, broken country so people know this is how we existed. I headed back to the library, grabbed a copy of Moby Dick with the cover half torn off, promised to return it, and went on my way. I still have the book with me because, even now, who has time to finish Moby Dick? When I set my eyes on lush farmland instead of overgrown foliage, I knew I'd found the place. I was approached by two people on bicycles, hiding their bows and arrows behind their back as they greeted me warmly. A little jarring, I must say. People were nice enough, brought me to their camp, a series of small, interconnected barns refurbished into houses. Livestock, something I haven't seen in years, roamed the fields next to the barns. I went inside and was greeted by two women. I was told they were the best available to ask right now. I sat down in a creaky leather chair and asked my questions.
A lot of us are farmers. A lot of us are from upstate, but I'm from Vermont. A lot of land here. We keep each other safe and make sure no one goes hungry. We each got our fair share of work to do, but we all get some leisure time. We still got books to read and games to play, so we get along real well. Live off the land type of deal. We don't need much besides shelter and our safety. That's why we got so many guards. When someone has something, other people want to take it from them. We're more than happy to share with folks in need, but things take a turn if they try taking more than their share. We'll help anybody out, but the second they try encroaching on us, we make them realize why that's a bad idea.
We all seem to have a familiar plan. Find a place with plenty of land to farm in, and a bunch of us showed up within shouting distance from one another. Happy little accident, that. A group of us met up, located some of our friends and loved ones together, and settled down here. George had a bunch of local seeds, so we've been fortunate enough with our harvests. Some of us call it a miracle. I just call it good planning.
Everyone's kindness. We don't really turn folks away, especially if they're in need. Hell, they helped my wife and I get situated, and well, we kind of stayed here, and that isn't much of a rare occurrence. As long as you don't hurt anybody or take from the needy, you're family. We all went through something tough and lost quite a bit. Least we can do is make what's left a little better for everyone, right?
Having to defend ourselves. We aren't violent people, and we don't like hurting anybody. We've never attacked anyone first and never intend to. That's our absolute last resort, but if we must, we must.
Learn and help. We all have a bunch of jobs around here, and everybody has to try and learn something new, even if it's hard. I just learned how to build an IV drip with some help.
Rebuild what we have, make way for the future. We're building a maternity ward, so in the future we can build a bigger community. Who knows? If we help enough people out, we could make our own little town out here. There's still a lot of people in need, and if we live by what we say, we're going to try and help them.
The people were nice enough to house me here for a few nights, long enough to start compiling the audio I collected. Even though the world I used to inhabit is no longer where it once was and may never get back to that place again, I'm kind of happy, I guess. The people around me treat me kindly, I don't have to worry about where I'm getting my next meal, and the views from just outside my dark little editing room are beautiful. I guess the world isn't all that different from before in some ways. We're all looking for a place where we feel like we belong. This is your nameless narrator signing off from somewhere around Galway, reminding you that, even though things are kind of bleak, there's a place for you out there, somewhere.